Good morning, everybody. I am Wendy.
And I am Dave, and we are 62 and 63 years old, and we have gotten back into tent camping, which we started doing over 40 years ago. Got away from it. We started to stay in hotels and resorts.
We even have a trailer, and we've done a lot of camping in that. And for some reason, we gravitated back to tent camping.
Not that we don't take our trailer out from time to time. In fact, we're going to go to Oregon pretty soon. We hope you'll be able to watch that. But we really enjoy getting back into our first love, which was tent camping. And we're going to talk to you about the pros and the cons. And there's a lot of both when it comes to tent camping. One of the pros is that you can go to more remote sites. We have a four-wheel drive Yukon. And with a four-wheel drive, you can go up to more remote spots where you wouldn't take your trailer, where you wouldn't take your RV, and you can camp in places that are really secluded, quiet, and beautiful, and usually free. So you can get to places where we wouldn't take our trailer. Trailers are a little bit more fragile, as are most RVs, don't have high clearance. So we can go up any mountain goat road and go camping at the end of the road.
And I'd like to talk to you about camping versus glamping. Now, what we're doing here may look like camping, but it's actually glamping. Because trust me, as I get older, I want to be comfortable. So I won't cut corners on that. So inside this tent, we have air mattresses, we have duvets, we have our best pillows from home, and there's quite a few other things as we go further into this video.
It is very comfortable tent camping, and we're enjoying it an awful lot. We're coming to you right now from O'Neill Regional Park, which in Orange County is one of the most beautiful places to park.
The camp.
In Orange County, one of the most beautiful places to camp. It's only $20. It's really easy to get in, and there's just tons of hiking all around.
Stay tuned. We're going to talk to you a little bit more about the pros and the cons of tent camping. So, welcome back. As you may be able to tell, we've got different outfits on because we just went and did a wonderful hike out to Holy Jim Falls. Beautiful hike to a beautiful waterfall.
Speaking of outdoors, you're going to be more likely to be outdoors if you're tent camping. When you're tent camping, the truth is, you really only use your tent to sleep. So you don't eat in the tent. We basically just sleep in the tent. Or if it's really bad weather, we retreat to the tent. But 99% of the time, we're outdoors like we are right now. We're sitting outside, we're cooking outside, we're hanging around with the fireplace, the whole thing. And so really when it comes down to it, you spend more time outdoors. And that's the whole idea of camping in the first place, if you have a tent. If you're in an RV, you're very likely to want to sit inside more.
Yes, and I'd like to talk to you about food. We're a little bit kind of sort of foodies. We do appreciate good food, and you really can cook gourmet food outside. It may sound surprising, but you don't always have to do just hamburgers or hot dogs. Last night we had salmon that was so good, and all you need is just the right gear. A good cook stove, a good burner, a nice pan, and some utensils, and you are good to go. So don't let that keep you from tent camping, because if you have the right gear, you can make the best food.
And most of you might be thinking, well, what if you don't have propane? What if you don't have all these fancy stoves? You can cook over the fire. You really can.
That's true.
We were forced to do that last time we went camping because we forgot to bring a certain hose. And that being the case, we wanted to cook or make coffee or anything. We had to do it over the campfire.
Yeah.
And it was fun. And
Yeah.
it was wonderful. And it's not that hard. You
No.
really can do it. So you can even cook gourmet meals over your campfire.
Totally. All you have to do is start a fire and let it burn down so it's not, leaping flames.
Coals.
You want it to coals. And believe it or not, those coals are even hotter than the flame. You just put your pan on there and you get cooking.
We're talking about how we're outdoors more if we're tent camping. And we've been to places where the bigger the RV, the less likely we are to see anybody. So if you want to meet people, and camping people are a lot of fun. They tend to be really nice, outgoing, friendly, helpful, all of those things. And you'd miss out on that. And generally, the more tents we see, the more people we see outdoors, the more you run into people, the more you get into conversations, meet people, and who knows where those conversations will go. And the more big RVs we see, sometimes we don't see a single person outside. The bigger the RV, the less likely they're going to have a campfire, the less likely they're going to be sitting outside, the more likely we'll be walking by the window in the front and we'll see the big screen TV on. We think, why not just stay at home?
That's true. I mean, you really could just stay at home if that's what you want to do. Now, we are not judging people who do this, but if you are like us and we want to be outdoors a lot more, we want that fresh air, we want to hear the birds singing, all that good stuff, then tent camping really is a good way to go. And just stay tuned. We'll have a few more things to tell you in just a sec.
One of the downsides to tent camping is that there's no insulation whatsoever on a tent. Basically, the temperature outside is going to be the temperature inside, give or take a little bit, because you want it to be ventilated, and so, yeah, air's going to go in and out, and there you are. We love to go camping with our trailer because it's well insulated, and we put in a diesel heater, so no matter how cold it gets, we can be totally warm. And so, yeah, the temperature, that's kind of a downside to tent camping. On the other hand, there's something about sleeping outside. And basically, today's tents, you're sleeping outside with just something to protect you from the bugs and the rain. And so you've got that sleeping outside feel, which is kind of hard to imitate in a trailer.
If you're going to go tent camping, you might think, well, where am I going to keep all this stuff when I'm home? I don't want to have like a tent hanging around. What about things like air mattresses? What about my cooking gear? Well, I found a solution for that, and I'll show you a picture that I took of our tubs. We have 3 matching tubs that can stack right on top of each other, and I have one of them for our tent and the stakes and the poles and everything, and I have one of them for our air mattresses, and including the fitted sheets I put over them. By the way, that is an idea to keep some of that cold from coming up through your air mattress. The third one has our duvets in it, and that's my luxury. I have duvets in there, and I will also have a really nice soft fuzzy blanket because, like I've said before, I like to be comfortable. So keeping everything in tubs makes for really easy storage. You just put it in your garage, for instance, and you just stack them on top of each other, and it works out just fine. And there's a fourth one I wanted to tell you about, and that is my kitchen gear. I keep everything in a nice large tub. Everything I need. Plates, silverware, cookingware, the French press that you see us using for coffee in the morning, pots and pans, you name it, it's all in there. So, and I try to keep it completely ready to go. So if we decide to go on a whim on a camping trip, everything's ready.
One of the minuses of tent camping is that you don't have the trailer to haul stuff with. You don't have the RV, the extra space you'd have in an RV. You're just having the car, which is a plus in some ways. You can get around a little bit easier, but the downside is you really got to pack that thing, whether it's a small car or a big car. This trip, we couldn't use the rearview mirror at all. It was pretty much stacked to the ceiling behind us. And so when we take the trailer, there's extra room to put stuff, like on the floor of the trailer, on the beds, storage area, that kind of stuff. So the car is not just packed to the gills. But whether you're in a small car or a large car, you go tent camping, it's going to be full. I like making fires. And the truth is, when we're in our trailer, a third of the time, half the time, we don't bother making a campfire. We go do stuff and we come back and you settle down in the trailer and go to sleep. But every single night when we go tent camping, we make a fire. And we learned how to cook over a fire because we were tent camping once. There's something special about having a fire every night, and unless it's pouring rain, if we're tent camping, we're going to have a campfire. And we've learned a lot about building fires because we make so many of them. We watch a lot of bushcraft videos on YouTube. It's kind of addictive. And what you do is you take regular firewood, which you can buy at any store, and you get a really nice axe and you split it down into smaller pieces, which gives off more heat, lights better, lasts longer, and yeah, it's just a whole better way to do fires.
One of the pluses I've found of going camping and tent camping is there is no temptation to be distracted by the TV. And while I like TV just as much as anyone else does, especially like YouTube, it is kind of nice to take a break from it. I think we're a whole lot more present when we're sitting around a campfire, or we're hiking in the woods, or just cooking our breakfast outside. It's just really, really nice not to be distracted by this big box with very tempting shows. It's just nice not to be tempted by that. It is nice not to deal with that for just a little while. One of the things I like to do instead is read. Now, I am an avid reader, but sometimes life gets really busy and you don't get a chance to just sit for a couple hours and read a good book. And so I really enjoy getting to do that here. We even have these Necklights. I'll show you how they go. Those are wonderful for reading a book. You just sit around the fire, you aim these at your book, and you can just read peacefully for hours on end. Well, hello. We have moved obviously to a nice spot on a lake. It's super peaceful here. It's lovely. And today we want to talk to you about noise. Now, tent camping can be a noisy affair. There is literally nothing insulating you from the sounds all around you. And we have discovered that this weekend. We were looking for a spot for 3 nights in a really nice park, and we found it. But there was only one spot left, and it was right on the main road with even the highway next to that. So we have ended up with a tremendous amount of noise. There's been cars honking, the car alarms. There's been huge trucks just driving by. There have been motorbikes just roaring by. And one night we had neighbors on either side of us that were really noisy. So that can be a drawback to tent camping.
I also want to talk to you about one of the positives about tent camping. It's easier to find a spot. Tent spots are often not reserved. They're open, or there's a big area where they have all kinds of tents. You can put tents anywhere. If you're on a holiday weekend or something, it's a lot easier to find a tent spot than an RV spot, especially in California, which is really crowded. You go to a place like New Mexico, it doesn't matter because you don't need to reserve anything anyways for anything. But out here in California where it's crowded, especially on the holiday weekends, it's a good idea to have a tent because you can always find a spot for a tent. I want to talk to you about electricity. This is a downside of having a tent. We love to go off grid, and when you go off grid with an RV, you've got more electrical resources. We've got a couple of deep cycle batteries in our trailer. We've got a whole system with an inverter, all kinds of things. We never once run out of power. Now, the problem with tent camping, even if we bring our Jackery, which is a battery with an inverter in it, and we've done okay with that, with a little solar panel, a little portable solar panel.
That's right.
But it's a lot easier with the trailer. If, for instance, if you have a 12-volt fridge, it's really nice to keep that running. Now, with an RV, that's really easy. You just plug it in the side of the RV and you're good to go. But if you're tent camping, you're relying on how much the Jackery can hold, and you have to keep charging it up with the car or with solar, and sometimes you start to run a little bit low and you don't want your food to spoil.
I'd like to talk to you about sitting. When you go tent camping, you definitely have to bring your own chairs, and there are fantastic camping chairs out there, so that is easy to solve. However, you have that choice, or you have the picnic tables, which they provide a lot of places, and some of them are very, very nice. The ones we have on this trip are concrete, and they are strong as can be, and yeah, they work great. And sometimes you end up in a place where you have splintery wooden ones that haven't been taken care of for years. And that's just a plain issue, you know. Somewhere to sit is important to us. And of course, in your RV, you've probably got a nice dinette. You've probably got perhaps even really comfortable chairs in there, or a sofa. A lot of people have a sofa. So, you know, that makes it very, very easy. But then again, you're more likely to stay inside.
Now, some of you are more security conscious than others. We're not very security conscious. In general, campgrounds are safer than your typical neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's nice, friendly people who are watching out for each other, and there's a lot of people walking around. You're not going to just go snooping through people's stuff when there's somebody right next to you watching you do it. So it's a very public environment, and it's generally very safe. But the truth is, you can't lock a tent. You've got to keep things locked in your car, and the stuff that's in the tent, you've got to be willing to lose, because not that it happens very often. People don't sneak into tents and take sleeping bags, but what you leave in the tent, I wouldn't leave valuables in a tent, because you just can't lock it at all. We like to lock our trailer when we go into town, just because, and that's an issue when it comes to security.
And there's another topic that is kind of related to that, and that is there is no privacy in a tent. I mean, we all have times we want privacy. For instance, when you're sleeping at night, or when you need to change your clothes, and it's not always convenient to go to the campground bathroom and do all that. So yeah, that is an issue. You don't have any privacy there. Noises that you make, conversations that you hold, everybody can hear them if they're nearby. So that's an issue. And of course, in an RV, you have your privacy. You can close your window shades, you can run your air conditioner, generators. They're a reality, but they will block sound for you inside. So, you know, that's a plus of RVing. We're just trying to keep it real, folks. We're trying to tell you what it's truly like to stay in a tent and camp in a tent, and just knowing the pros and cons, I think, will help you make a much more informed decision, and you'll have a better time.
Another negative is lighting. Generally, your RV, well, always, your RV, your trailer is plumbed for light. You flip a switch and lights come on. That is not the case with a tent. A tent, you've got to find places to put little lanterns, you've got to have a neck lamp or a headlamp or something like that, and it's just not as convenient. It's really nice to be able to just flip on a light, and in a tent, I don't think that's possible.
No. Another thing about tent camping, which we have definitely learned, and some people may not know, is that it's challenging getting in and out. Now, most tents you get in and out with a zipper, and in the middle of the night, bending down and reaching up for the zipper and opening everything up, and then climbing in and out, and then doing the same in return. It can be a little bit bothersome. Also, getting in and out of your sleeping bag is definitely an issue. All that unzipping and crawling out, and even getting up off of an air mattress. You know, we have those air mattresses because we like to be comfortable, and that's great, but they're usually only 1 to 2 feet above the ground. So you're kind of crouching and trying to stand up, and as you get older, that's a little less easy.
There's nothing to hang on to if you want to stand up.
That's true. There's nothing to hang on to.
And when you're kind of groggy, I still remember the first time I ever went tent camping. I was with David Wester. We were Cub Scouts or something like that. There were 2 of us in a little pup tent. And I remember having to go to the bathroom really bad and not being able to find the zipper. I started to panic. I did fine. I found the zipper and got out. Phew. But to this day, every time I look for the zipper, I've got flashbacks of camping with David Wester when I was 11 years old. And trying to find the zipper and trying to get out in time. And so, it's challenging to get in and out.
It's a lot easier to get in and out of an RV. You've got a little steps. You've got a bar to hold on to.
You've got a door.
You've got a door.
You go in and out real quickly.
No zippers.
It's just a whole lot easier than the zipper. And the zipper tends to snag. It catches on things.
Gosh,
no matter what. No matter what. Your zipper is gonna be under functioning and underachieving as far as zippers go. They've never mastered the get out and in of a tent.
It hasn't been mastered to where it's easy.
No.
So just another thing for you to think about.
Another negative when it comes to tents is weather. Now, you might think, well, the reason you have a tent and you're not just cowboy camping, lying there in a sleeping bag and a bedroll, is because you want to be protected from the weather. Well, the truth is a tent will protect you from dew, from rain through the night, and from light wind, and you're not going to get blown around. But if the wind gets heavy and the rain gets heavy, it's really a nightmare to be in a tent. You feel water running around you and all that kind of stuff. It's just
true. And it may be sort of okay at night, but what if it happens during the day? You're kind of stuck. I mean, you could get in your car, you could go drive somewhere, but staying at the campground is not going to be quite as much fun because you're going to be stuck inside your tent.
It's going to be tough with a storm of any kind. We've got people we follow on YouTube who spent a couple years in a dome tent. And they've got some horrific stories about when the weather got really rough.
Yeah.
And it's fine, like I say, for light rain, light wind, those kinds of things. That's why you have a tent in the first place, so you can stay dry and
Right.
you not get blustered around. But if the weather gets heavy, you don't want to be in a tent.
No. Another issue, which is important because every one of us needs to do this, is where do you go to the bathroom? Because in a tent, unless you have a portable potty, or you can set up another separate tent with a portable potty in it, that's one way to handle that challenge. But you kind of have to do it that way. You know, that's not that easy. And sometimes in the middle of the night, you got to walk a ways to find one. So,
That can be challenging.
yeah. So, you know, if you're in an RV, you've got one right there. That's nice and easy, convenient. Don't have to go outside, don't have to bundle up, none of that stuff. So, you know, those are two very practical, very real issues that you got to think
A
about.
couple of downsides.
So, we've decided to be conventional. I'm going to talk about dishes.
And I'm going to talk about mileage. How
So,
cliche.
yeah, very cliche. So, the practical side of tent camping or any kind of camping is that you need to do dishes. Unless you do all paper, all plastic, throw it in the trash and you don't deal with it again, which it's an idea, but it's certainly not very green to do. So we bring along real plates, real silverware, real pots and pans, you name it, and they got to get clean.
That's right.
If you leave her until the next day, forget it. They'll be all crusty.
And if you leave food out, it's going to attract bugs and rodents and everything else. So you want to clean up pretty much right away
You have to.
when you're done. And if you're actually remote camping, boondocking, wild camping, whatever you want to call it, you're not going to have a table unless you bring one. And
That's
it's
true.
hard to
Yeah.
bring a big table.
Yeah.
You can bring little tables, but big
Yeah.
tables, not so easy.
One of the things I use when we're tent camping, which may sound funny, but those unscented baby wipes are a godsend. I mean, I clean everything with them, and you notice nothing about the plates afterwards. So it is a solution to
And
this
if they're
issue.
baby wipes, you know they're not going to be harsh.
That's true. There won't be anything in them that's actually harmful. So that works really well.
As long as they're unscented, because I don't want to eat from a plate that
That
smells like
baby powder,
yeah, exactly.
flowers, whatever.
Yuck. Well, I also want to talk about mileage. That's a real upside to tent camping. Now, we live in California, and yes, you can be sad for us because gas is always more expensive here in California than almost anywhere else in the United States.
Like right now, it's around $6 a gallon. This is ridiculous,
Which
but
is
it's our reality.
Crazy stuff. And
Yeah.
if you're going to be tent camping, you're not going to be getting RV mileage. If you have a trailer or if you have an RV, your mileage is going to be terrible. And so if you're trying to save a little bit of money, it really, especially if you're taking a long trip, it makes a lot of difference to be tent camping. Tent camping, you're just going to have the cost of your car, and you're not going to be pulling around all that extra weight, which adds to more gas usage. If you have a little Subaru or something like that, you're going to do really, really well with gas mileage. So you might want to think about that also. If you have a tent, you're going to be better off than if you're in an RV when it comes to gas mileage. So those are the pluses and the minuses of tent camping. We want to compare tent camping to RV camping, and we want to be really honest about it. And we're not biased because we really love both.
We do both.
We love to go trailer camping.
Yeah.
We love to go tent camping. I love to go backpacking. We love all of the above. And so we're just honestly and objectively as possible comparing tent camping, the pluses and minuses, to RV camping, which includes trailers, the pluses and the minuses.
Yes. And we hope that this was helpful for you because we're trying to just share with you the realities of both. And if you liked it, please give us a thumbs up. We ask that you would subscribe to our channel, The Tin Can Twosome, and we will see you on the next adventure. Bye. Car alarms, we love them.